welcome to the adjudication test of JPDU Spring Tournament 2015. On the motion, this house will require online gaming companies to compensate the therapy costs of players who become addicted to their online games. I call upon Prime Minister to adopt the case within 7 minutes. Here.
We say that this debate is about the boundary of individual responsibility in the free market. Whether the corporate responsibility should override the individual responsibility to consume product in the free market or not. And we say, ladies and gentlemen, if the business model the corporation take structurally inevitably causes harm on the individual. And second of all, those individuals do not have any way to get out of such a kind of addictive situation without the cooperative therapy to these people, with the corporate responsibility should anytime override the individual responsibility. I'm not talking to two substantive in my speech. First of all, one individual responsibility in free market should be limited to the minimum extent or the minimum level, and in this particular case, it is not. And the second of all, I'm not talking about why those people who are addicted to online games are put in extremely vulnerable situation in the current framework, and why by our compensation, those people can be saved in the situation. Before the model and the context. So we say, ladies and gentlemen, the model we support is rather simple. First of all, the consumer should have the choice to sue the corporation if he or she feels they're addicted to the online games. And second of all, whether he's addicted to online games or not should be decided by the decision of the doctors that fit to the current framework. So let's just first understand the other context. So we say that those people who are addicted to online games are put in a very vulnerable situation. Those people do not have any way to work outside or whatever, because those people are structurally confined and addicted to the online games by the strategy of the corporation, ladies and gentlemen. Those people do not have any money to save own diseases or save own body, because those people are structurally confined into the situation where those people have no way to get out of the situation. No. And we say, ladies and gentlemen, in those situations, those people put in poverty, and we say this therapy are important. So let's just first understand one line we draw. So, we say, ladies and gentlemen, the corporation should take as much effort as possible to balance out the enjoyment of consumers and their profit and the harm of individuals, those business models inevitably involved, ladies and gentlemen, like PLO, ladies and gentlemen. Why? Because, ladies and gentlemen, we say the line we draw is very simple. First of all, those business models structurally aim to cause the harm on individual in the free market. With the harm on the individual, those business models can stand, and a corporation can get profit from making those people being harmed by the business model, ladies and gentlemen. And second of all, ladies and gentlemen, with the harm, ladies and gentlemen, individuals do not have any way to get out of the harm those corporations put on those people, ladies and gentlemen. We say, ladies and gentlemen, if this current situation meets those standards, ladies and gentlemen, the corporation should compensate for the harm on the individual, ladies and gentlemen. Why? Because we have brought three reasons. First of all, we recognize general power imbalance between corporation and individual. Individual put in a vulnerable situation compared to corporation. Corporation have massive power to make their own business model to confine consumers into the consume their products. And second of all, the consumer don't have enough predictability to be harmed by the corporation, ladies and gentlemen, because we recognize the asymmetry of information. Individuals have the limited time to survey the information, survey the business model, but the preference is structured made by the media or corporation, ladies and gentlemen. We say in the particular situation, we should be as much as possible be protective of the consumers in the first place. And the third one, ladies and gentlemen, those people in the first place are addictive. So we say, ladies and gentlemen, not enough rationality is secured in the situation, ladies and gentlemen. We say, ladies and gentlemen, in that particular situation, contract between corporation and individual are not valid in the first place. Because of those three broad reasons, ladies and gentlemen, so we say we should be as much as possible protective of the individual. So let's get in this particular situation, right? So we see in this particular situation for online games, what is happening in current framework? Okay, so those business model as a corporation made towards those individuals are structurally making those people to be addictive to these online games. No. Why? Because those people continuously, structurally force or pretty much coerce to waste time in enjoying online games in particular situation, ladies and gentlemen. I'm taking now.
What kind of players do you think are problematic? Those who play for 3 hours a day or 8 hours a day. Please give us image of or in concept of addiction.
Okay, first of all, whether those people are completely addictive to online games or not should be decided by the doctor. That's not debate about those people addictive or not in the first place. No. And the second of all, ladies and gentlemen, obviously those people are wasting their time online games enough to harm their own audience life, enough to harm their daily life, ladies and gentlemen. If those people feel their daily life is damaged, the human life in a human relationship in the real life is incredibly damaged by being addictive to the online game. Those people should be decided as be addictive. This is not debate about that. Okay, so let's get the what kind of situation, right? So business model, those online games are making the individual, structurally making those people to be addictive. First of all, the human network, the human connection in online games are so strong, ladies and gentlemen. Those people feel too reluctant to get out of online games because the human network in online games gets stronger and stronger compared to the human network in the real life, ladies and gentlemen. We say this is a first structure, we say, ladies and gentlemen. And the second of all, ladies and gentlemen, those people are paying money for the items. Those people get in the online game, ladies and gentlemen. So if those people get higher items by paying higher money to these corporations, ladies and gentlemen, those people feel too much reluctant to get to the online game because those people feel it's a waste of money if those people get lots of online game, ladies and gentlemen. So we say, ladies and gentlemen, those kind of structure are completely working in current framework, ladies and gentlemen. And those structure are structurally making those people to feel extremely reluctant to get a lot of online games and harming their real life in the first place, which is a really problematic. Let's get the second substantive. Okay, so those people can recognize that those people are too addicted to the online games. Yes, but the point here is that those people don't have enough capacity to get out of the addictive situation. Because let's say, first of all, those people are too addictive, the rationality is not secure, those people cannot decide they can't get out of the online games in the first place. And second of all, the money that can make those people to get out of addictive by going into doctors or other kind of thing are not secure and can't friendly because those people confined into a situation where those people didn't have any work in the first place. So by our compensation, corporation paying money to these people, ladies and gentlemen, those people first of all can go to doctors and can get therapy from doctors and can get lots of addictive situation. And in some situations, those people can go to work or whatever, ladies and gentlemen. So on those situations, on comparative, apples are better for those vulnerable individuals in the free market. I'm very happy to propose.
Okay, thanks very much. To open the case of negative, I call upon Leroy.
The option believes that companies should not have a mandatory duty to pay this sort of compensation, and we say that the only situation that they should pay those sort of compensation is where they don't follow the rule, which I'm going to present to you in this model. We're going to have a couple of restrictions on the companies for online gaming thing. The first thing is about we're going to surely make the company show a warning about the risk of addiction or destroying your life, those sort of things. We recognize some problems of Star Trek players in Korea dying after playing 20 hours, something like that. So the second condition we're going to provide is a financial restriction, like that of casinos. To the extent that you're not financially incapable, but are putting like 5 million yen into online gaming, we're going to stop you. And we think we're happy for these companies or government to see into the bank account of these individuals. We think that's consistent with the current status quo. The third thing we want to do is going to put a time restriction on the online gaming, because we do recognize individual choices, but it's harmful to you physically, mentally if you play continuously for 10 hours or maybe 12 hours. So we're happy with like games to be shut down if you continuously play for a too long time, or introduce a sort of fatigue system of like characters within the game, where if you play too much, the quality of the performance of the characters in the game drop, which will obviously create disincentives from you to play continuously. But we're okay with individuals to the extent that they're rich, or they do not do it continuously to play a lot of games, or freely, or to the extent that whatever they want, and that's something we should want to respect as an individual choice. So to the extent that companies follow that rule, and even though with that restriction, individuals tend, unfortunately, become addicted on their criteria, we say that they shouldn't pay. But to the extent that these restrictions weren't followed by the company and were made to addictive on their criteria, we're happy for the companies to pay. If the companies don't have capability to do so, maybe the government will pay something like that. I'm going to talk about two things. I'm firstly going to talk about why companies should not be imposed that responsibility. Secondly, I'm going to talk about why this policy would devastatingly drop the quality of the gaming, which damages the collective users that are relevant to this debate. For that, couple of independent rebuttal. Firstly, they talk about this idea of addictiveness being a harm. We recognize that they're sort of really talking about minor radical characterization. That we recognize firstly that addictiveness isn't itself a bad thing. That you're doing something a lot of time, like workaholic in itself isn't a bad thing. So when they talk about that being an automatic harm, we think it's a really limited character where these individuals are playing so long time without going out of their home, like spending so much money into it, something like that, which is obviously something that is clearly dealt with our negative model, where if companies shut down that game for playing long time, or stop you from playing if you don't have money, we think it's obvious that these individuals have to do something else, or have to afford that money to continue to do that game once again, which is rather a positive thing, because you create an incentive for these people to work or do something positive as an alternative for doing these online games after all. So you don't think the characterization is, well, first of all, really small, but even if they existed, it's something easily dealt with our model. The second engagement we'd like to make is the problem of the characters that they want to protect after all. Because we recognize that they said that they want to help individuals who recognize that their situation of addictiveness was problematic. But the thing is that addictive individuals feel happy with that situation, that they're enjoying the sort of like games like Kankore, Final Fantasy Online, something like that. These individuals often do not recognize that they're in a bad situation. It's often a sort of active perspective that they are in a bad situation after all. Then, are they protecting the individuals in their perspective of addictiveness after all? And if they are to forcefully take these people out of that situation, they are depriving the freedom, the happiness of these individuals, because they're happy in that situation. If they say they want to protect these individuals in that situation, they are not protecting them. They base their argument on some principle or character that is non-existent. They're not sure why they can ever win this debate. So let's talk about a substantive. Firstly, the responsibility. So first, why is it that companies should not have the responsibility? I have a couple of reasons. The first reason is that we recognize addiction in itself not a problem after all, that it's blur whether it's a good addiction or a bad addiction. I already told you that workaholic or being addicted to debating in itself is not bad after all. And we think with a realistic context of addictiveness, it's not like doing it 20 hours a day or things like that, but rather that we do it continuously, like many hours a day with other lives, something like that. And but we still recognize there are bad aspects of addiction that the opponent wants to say. That's why there's restrictions on companies' effort not to guide people into that situation. So the extent that companies are doing their best to do effort to guide these individuals to a good sort of addiction, where they enjoy that game and are able to establish other healthy life after all. We think, and then we say that the individual's responsibility to take a good addiction and bad addiction, and rather take a bad addiction at their own choice or at their will after all. Because we recognize that this contract, those sort of things that the affirmative wanted to say after all, that consent or contract was made before addiction after all, when they're rational after all. We think that the consequence that they take before addiction, then we say that the individual's choice to go to that situation. Companies do not have the responsibility to take takes that minor case after all. Sure.
So your model, the corporate restriction against consumers' will, or the consumers' will inevitably admit some harm of the addiction in the first place.
So that's why we're only limiting in the radical case after all.
Yeah.
If you're going to be bankrupt, that's an obvious harm. If you're going to play it for 20 hours a day, that's obviously going to damage your body or kill you. We think that's obviously contrary to individual's body or health on a like extreme level. That's why excluding the extreme thing, and that's the only argument you provided on your side of the house. The second reason is that companies' efforts to provide good service is also obviously addiction, because if it's fun, that's addictive. That means that companies providing good service is equivalent to causing addiction, the problem that they want to provide on this side of the house. And so we think the line here is that, so we don't force like the companies that are making knives to compensate for like murderers that use that knife after all. To the extent that it's the individual's use or the use that cause that harm after all, we say it's obvious that companies should not have to pay or have the responsibility to compensate in that particular scenario. The second argument, shortly. So obviously, if the companies have to pay that therapy, they don't want to pay it. And we think it's obvious that the policy creates a huge stigma on companies, because compensation means that the creation of addiction is going to be recognized by the state and society as a bad thing. Companies are going to be active in not creating an addictive game. Then they have to include like boring features, or going to be a huge chilling effect on creating really fun like products or features in the game. That means that for the entire users, it's not going to be a fun game. The only pleasures that they may necessarily have in their lifetime is going to be uniquely deprived. Because we recognize all users are going to be harmed compared to a limited amount of like minor misusing addicted people, we say the companies have a duty to prioritize these users, because companies are providing benefit to these specific overall users, and that's why you oppose.
Okay, thank you for Mark. Continue case affirmative, I call compensate Prime Minister.
そういう問題ね。ゲームとして。
要素はでしたけど、もうちょっとユーザーの反応を時間かけて感じした方がいい。その手をスティグマとか、そのサーフィンのコストのやつの話は、プロジェクトはしたらしてるけど、企業ってそういうスティグマすごい嫌じゃん。レピュテーションってすごい企業のプロジェクトに影響与えるし、なんかそういうコスト来て企業の急に辛いじゃん。という感じで、なんかすごい企業が積極的に常にゲームを作ろうとするっていうのをする。押し直してほしい。よいしょ。モデルとアクションの話で最後の話聞いて基本的な話ですよね。まあ最初にバランスも俺らのそれがないですね。
Like the admit in example, in Korea and Japan, there are a significant number of people who have been addicted to the online games. They have been trapped within online games. They cannot go to a job, or they might not be able to go on daily life. They might be not able to find the time to even eat the food. As a consequence of that, there are cases that people died. We believe this is not. We believe that under the status quo, the company are totally running away from responsibility. We are following the minimum law, but Mr. Speaker, is it really all the responsibility of that individual? We say no, right? Because the company in itself creates the structure, the people to not to be opt out from the online games and taking advantage of the power imbalance to control and deprive the people's rationality. We believe when there are consequences of the law to not to protect the individual, we believe a company who are exploiting the significant benefit from that individual has to take that responsibility to provide the help of that individual. That's the stance coming from the government side of PAL Center proposition. I'm going to examine 3 issues in this debate. Firstly, I want to ask you the question whether their model enough to prevent the enough to protect the people. And secondly, their bizarre argument about addiction is good. Whether addiction is good or not, this is obviously bad. Finally, secondly, the kind of literal definition on after taking Super Bowl, the game is going to be boring. We say this is a good thing to protect the people away from the addiction. And finally, I want to examine the important questions of how who should take responsibility when there are significant loss of that individual. But before all my rebuttal included, basically this is all my rebuttal on substance. Firstly, about whether their model is enough to protect the people who are suffering from addictions. They gave us a good model about we are going to regulate the people in a significant, regulate the company in a significant way. We agree in some extent their model can decrease the number of people who are being addicted, but their model does not tackle with the people who are suffering for addiction like now, right? Because there are people who are already being addicted and they are not taking responsibility for this. We believe that if the company makes as Prime Minister says, if the company creates a structure to make people obsessed with the game and people are suffering by the consequences, the company should take the responsibility and their model do not deal with that. Secondly, they say, well, secondly, even if there are, we agree to some extent there are number of addiction is going to decrease, but there are still the people who are going to be addicted by the game, right? Why? It's because of the basic structure of the company can take advantage by the power imbalance and control the player is not going to change, right? The company can use the huge number of advertisement. The company can use the huge number of marketing mechanism, how people are going to be attracted in a significant number, even though you shut down the game for 1 hour. But maybe if people are so addicted, even though this is going to be shut down, people's heart is going to shake, or people cannot think about other things rather than game and those kind of things. Because as long as you are doing the game, there are chances the company can take mind control of the game players, right? In a sense, Mr. Speaker, we believe the still problem exists and someone has to take responsibility, and we believe that's not the individual who have no capacity to take responsibility, but the company who have ability and the company have the responsibility because they take the advantage of controlling the individual. Secondly, they talked about, well, addiction is a good thing because people are enjoying the game. We believe that's firstly contradict with their model, that they are going to restrict the people's freedom even though they are so much enjoying it. They say, well, but bankrupt or being dead is a tangible harm. That's why we have to regulate this. But if that's your choices to go on bankrupt, if that's your choices not to eat food because it is the freedom of an individual, we don't understand why they are going to draw the line in between the practical consequences or not the practical consequences. So we believe in addition to that, addiction is not the freedom of choices of individual. Addiction is a disease that people are going to lose the autonomy of deciding what is good and what is not good for you. For example, if you are being addicted with a drug, your nationality totally goes away. Even though you don't want to be bankrupt in your nationality, you cannot choose your own actions, right? In a sense, Mr. Speaker, we believe addiction is about things, and as long addiction is about things, that's why we cannot permit their stance of addiction is a good thing so that people can be addicted as long as they want. We believe government has to intervene in a situation if people are suffering from addictions and protect the individual by company responsible for the therapy, and people are going to be free and make the very choices of themselves. And if you want to play the game after therapy, this is good. This is okay. Finally, they talked about after taking Super Bowl, the game is going to be boring. It's good things if the if company self-regulate themselves and not make people addicted to the game, right? Because under the stress problem, as I say in the before, addiction is a significant problem under the stress. If the addiction decrease by making game a little bit boring, we believe this is good things because the comparison of the cost we are going to lose by people being bankrupt, people being dead, people being losing rationality versus the game being little bit boring, we believe obviously that paradigm is better. So finally, let's compare whose responsibility is it. They say this is the individual choices, individual's responsibility, but they never tell us why the individual can be fairly compete with the company's power. Right? My partner brilliantly explained how the company have huge power. There are huge power imbalance in between the customer and company. If the company try to control individual, especially when the game company have incentive to control individual, because that's going to significantly increase their money by using the market mechanism, by using so much money to attract and say, well, if you are going to opt out from the game, maybe other people is going to suffer, or that the words of the game is going to be die and kind of things. The people cannot take the national decision of whether they wanted to what they want to actually do, right? In a sense, Mr. Speaker, we believe. In a sense, Mr. Speaker, we believe this is not only the individual choices, but this is the company's exploitation of the individual, which means the company has to take some responsibility. They should not run away from responsibility. We are proud of the competition. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks very much. Continue case a negative compound that is wrong.
何を言えばよかった
Mr. Speaker, we're not saying addictive is a good thing. We say it's a bad thing, but we say becoming addictiveness is a self-responsibility, but it is not forced or systematic forced by the corporations. Because matter of fact that not all players playing their online games all becoming addictiveness, but just one specific part of people is becoming addictiveness. And their problem is not showing us what kind of people become addictiveness and how focus on those targets by compensation from the company is the only solutions to solve the problem. So three things to do in my speech, and all will be integrated. So firstly, I'm talking about that the line drove by both sides and which is more legitimate. And secondly, I'll talk about will their paradigms solve the problem. And lastly, I'll talk about what is the harm going to be, like referring about the quality of the game and other users' rights. So firstly, the line. What the line will heard from the government side today is firstly when the business model itself is harmful for the people, and secondly when there's no way for people to opt out. What firstly we say, we have to consider who becoming addictiveness, and you will find out that the line is irrelevant in this. But firstly, we say there are informations that there are warning that people, the users already know that you might be addicted if you play a long time on that online game. So they choose, like with the information, they choose to play in a long time. So it means that to some extent, they actively choose to become addicted. As I told you in the introduction, not all players, once they play their online game, they will just automatically mean they must going to be addicted. So it means just one part of people who choose to become addicted. And secondly, we say who become addicted is those people who fail on manage on themselves, they fail on the time management, like they become a messy of life, so they can't control themselves. So it's not like they said that the companies like making those games systematically or automatically forcing players to become addictiveness, but it is those people who become addictiveness. And all their analyze, for example, the human network on the online game is important for example, when players pay a lot of money on the game and they don't want to quit because they think that then it will become a waste of money, those people won't sue the company even after the plan. So those are the people who become addicted and they're enjoying their lifestyle addicted in the game. So we say this is an irrelevant analyst. And secondly, what our line provides you is that when the product itself is harmful, like for example poisonous food, for example like something like that, then we need the for example bad car quality, then we need the corporation to compensate. But when the users, like when the product is okay, but the user use it in a bad way, then it's not companies' obligations and no engagement from their side. And we say even if there might some company like producing really bad online game, like really like I don't know, like those things like automatically make every users going to addict to the game, then those companies already paying compensation in the status quo because the product itself is bad. But what we're saying, when the users using it the bad way, it's just not the company fault. Yes.
You say people choose to be addicted, but as I say, addiction is absolutely bad. What kind of people choose to be addicted?
Yeah, addiction is bad, but no, to some people they just fail on controlling themselves. They just become like they feel so happy. Like this is something like similar to like alcoholic. Like people know alcoholic is bad, but some people just fail on controlling themselves. Then it's a responsibility for those addictiveness. Move on to my next issue about will their paradigm solve the problem. So today we have a vague model coming from their side. We don't know like whether they're going to like push all the addictive people to the therapy, or they're going to like choose some addictiveness. Well, it's firstly they say if they want to like solve the problem, if they think addiction is a really bad thing and they want to have all the addicted people go to therapy, then it's against the people who are addicted to the games will. Like those gamer think those lifestyle is good for them, they feel really happy for them, then why is it necessary at the very first place to force them to go to the therapy? And secondly, we say if they like only choose the people who like voluntarily want that therapy, we say that is a minority, because as I analyze through, those people become addicted because they feel really happy when they're playing the game. Like all the analysts we can concede. Like for example, at the network on the online, or like they pay a lot of money, and those people won't sue the company. Those people even after the plan won't like voluntarily require the therapy because they think it's okay for them to keep playing that game 24 hours. So their problem is not even you require company to compensate users who like voluntarily to choose the therapy. It won't solve the problem.